In this video, you'll learn how to complete Form DS-11 using the U.S. Department of State's form filler. The form filler is completely free and, in my opinion, the best way to complete the form. Now, give this video a like so that YouTube knows to push it out to other people looking for content just like this, whether they're trying to complete their application for a new passport or if they're trying to renew their passport. And without further ado, let's get into the video. So when you're on Google, you are going to search for Form DS-11 and click Enter. You should see the U.S. Department of State's associated with the link that you're going to click on. And then once you're on the U.S. Department of State's website, you're going to scroll down under the section that says Primary Application Forms for a U.S. Passport. And you're going to look for Section 1 that reads Application for a U.S. Passport, DS-11. And then you're going to scroll down just a little bit more, move your cursor down rather, and click on Form Filler. It's going to take you to this page where you're just going to click that you have read the privacy notice and disclaimer. And I do encourage you to read that by clicking on the hyperlink and then click Submit. Then it's going to bring you to this page where you can fill out your application online, specifically under the section that reads Fill out online and print. And then you're going to click on Submit. At the top of the page, you'll see the Privacy Act statement as well as instructions. These are the same instructions that are printed on the physical form if you got it from a U.S. passport, a U.S. Postal Service, and then you're just going to complete the information in the application section. So you're going to indicate the first name of who you are completing this application for. If it is someone that is under 16, you would indicate their information here as well. So in this example, we are completing it for John, and we're going to put in his birthday, and then we're going to put in the city of birth. If the country was different, you're going to change that, but John was born in the United States. Then you're going to indicate the state or territory that the individual was born. And then you're going to put in the social security number. Then you're going to indicate the gender. And then you're going to indicate if there needs to be a changing gender marker. So for John's case, that is no. And then you're going to put the height of the individual that you are completing the application for. Again, if this was being done for your child that is under 16, you would put their information in. You put in their hair color as well as eye color. And then for occupation, if you click on these little question marks, you can get more information. So it reads that if this is being completed for a child, you should indicate student or child in the occupation field. And if you are an entrepreneur, you should indicate self-employed. But for most other people, they might have an occupation. John is a teacher. And I don't find that you need to put where your child goes to school or who your employer is. I haven't done it when I've used this form filler, and I've never run into any issues, but you can do whatever you feel is best. Then you're going to click on Next. Oops, forgot the date of birth. Make sure that you put everything in, but it does let you know, as you saw, if anything is missing or incorrect. And then you're going to put in the address that you'd like the passport mailed to. So make sure that you have this on hand. Then you're going to indicate the state as well as the zip code. Then this portion is especially important if you are filling it out for a child. Sometimes the Postal Service will not deliver mail if they don't recognize the name of who it's going to. And this has happened to me when I moved to my new home that I'm recording this video in now. So you want to make sure that if you're filling this out for your child, that you indicate in care of or attention, and then the name of someone that the post office knows lives there. If they don't, they might not deliver the passport, and you don't want that. But this is not being completed for a child, so we're going to leave that blank. Is this your permanent address? For John, yes. If it isn't, then you would indicate no. Then you're going to select how you'd like for the U.S. Department of State to contact you if something goes wrong. You can either click mail, email, or both. We're going to keep it at mail, but if you click on email, I can show you what it looks like. Really nothing has changed. They still want your email anyways. So we're going to leave that as mail, and then we're going to put in John's email address. And then we're going to put in his phone number. And then we're going to indicate, checking to see how much. We're going to indicate what type of phone number this is, whether it's his home, work, or cell. It's his cell, and if you need to add an additional number, you would click on this, another row would pop up, and you would also indicate what type of phone number it is. Then we're going to click next. And in this page, you're going to enter if you have any upcoming trips that are coming up that are international, not domestic, because you don't need a passport for domestic flights. And then you see here that there is a note that says that if you're traveling within 2 weeks, do not mail in your passport application. You would need to call and try and make an appointment at a passport agency so that they can do it in person. And you will have to pay a $60 expedited fee for them doing your passport for you that way. But if you have a trip that is 2 weeks or greater out, then you would indicate that here. But John does not have any upcoming international trips, so we're going to leave that blank and click next. Then they would like to know who can they contact in an emergency. This section is not required, as you can see that there's nothing that has that red asterisk next to it. But you can definitely indicate who you'd like to have them contact in an emergency, and then you would indicate the relationship here. You do have to know their first and last name, street address, apartment number when applicable, the city that they live in and state, zip code, phone number with no dashes, as well as their relationship to you. And they have the list of relationships that you can indicate here. But John, we're just going to keep it blank and click on next. Then you are going to see like your most recent passport information. So John this is his first time getting a passport, but you can indicate here if you've had a passport before, and this is what would appear. They want to know, do you still have the book in your possession? For most people, I feel like they're going to be indicating yes. But if you have it, but it's been damaged or mutilated, you would indicate that, or no, it's been lost or it has been stolen. You would indicate whichever one applies. You're going to put in the date of the most recent passport was issued, and then you're going to indicate the name on that passport, as well as the number that's associated with that passport book. If you had a passport card, similar, a little bit of menu will pop up, and if you've had both, it's going to give you a section for both. So make sure that you pay attention if you are filling out the passport book or card section. And again, John's never had one, so we're going to indicate never had a passport before and click next. Then this section, parents, pay very close attention if you're filling this out on behalf of your child. They actually have it in red because so many people get it wrong. And it reads, if you're completing as a third party or parent of minor, complete the form in the context of the applicant, not yourself. In my daughter's case, I would be putting my information as well as my wife's information in this section. If you don't know who your parents are, that's okay. You can indicate unknown by selecting unknown. And you see there, it just kind of collapses everything. And then you just have to answer this question down here. So what we're going to do for John is we're going to indicate that, yeah, he doesn't know who one of his parents are. And his dad is Tom America. And we're going to indicate his birthday. And then his place of birth, and then gender. And we're going to indicate if at the moment this application is being completed, if his father is a US citizen or not. So we're going to indicate yes. But if we were to indicate no, nothing pops up. And I don't think, it's really a big issue. They just want to know who the parents are if you know. Then you're going to scroll down to current spouse or most recent spouse of applicant. So John is married. So we're going to complete this section and his wife's name is Jane. And we're going to put Jane's date of birth and place of birth. So place of birth, in this case, you want to put city as well as state. And if his wife is a US citizen, which she is, then you're going to indicate the date of their marriage. And then, has the applicant ever been widowed or divorced? So they're asking, has John ever been widowed or divorced? And the answer to that is no. Now, if the answer was yes, let's see what would appear. They'd want to know the date that that event happened. But again, for John, that's no. So we're going to click next. And then this section is really important. Again, I believe that this, if anything, will probably slow down your application if not completed properly. So if you've had any other names, usually this will probably be for most women. If they've been married and changed their name, their maiden name is what the passport agency, the U.S. Department of State, rather wants to know. Was her name Jane America her entire life, or was it Jane Peterson or Jane Johnson? You want to list all of the different aliases that you've had here. First and last name, middle name is not important. And if you have more than one, you would just click on this section here that says add another name and list all of the names that you've ever used at any time. And I want to say legally used. Yeah, a legal name change. So if you've just been going by Pete, but your name is Peter, that's okay. That's not what they mean here. They want any legal name changes that you've actually gone and changed your the name on your social security card, name on your passport, those type of documents. They want to make sure that you indicate those names here. But for John, he doesn't have any. Maybe his wife might, but he doesn't. So we're going to click next. And then it's going to give you a passport application review. And here we can see John's information here once again. You can use this to review all of the information that you've put in. If for whatever reason, you made a mistake where, okay, his dad's name is not Tom. His name is Timothy. We can change that and then click next. And if we scroll down, we see that the name has been changed to Timothy America. There's his wife's name and information and no other names. So once we are confident that everything here is correct, we can then scroll down and click on next. And then here is where you're going to indicate what you'd like, the services that you'd like to add on. So you'll notice that the $35 execution fee is already added on because this is John's first time getting a passport. If he was renewing his passport, that $35 fee would not be there. But let's see, if John wants to get a passport book, that would be $130. If he wanted to get a passport card, that would be $30. If he wanted to get both, that would be $160. So, but in this case, John just wants a passport book. And if he'd like to get a larger passport book that is non-standard, at the moment there is no additional charge. And this would be helpful for folks that are frequent travelers that need a larger passport that has a little bit more pages. And you want to make sure that you're really paying attention to this when you're completing the form filler, because you can miss it. And you don't want to if you need a larger passport book. So make sure that you pay close attention to that. Then now down to the optional fee section, where if you watched my previous video, which I'll link here, you'll know a little bit more about this section. So this is if you are trying to expedite the processing of your passport. So once your passport has been received by the U.S. Department of State, that is when they will expedite it, not the expediting of the shipping to them. Just once they get it, they open the mail and they receive your document. That's what they mean by the expedited process. So that would be an additional $60 if you wanted that. And then this is if you're expediting it at agency service, which is the same $60. This is more of like a third party, whatever, if they're completing it for you. It would still be $60. Doesn't matter if it's, you're mailing it in, or if you're going to the US Postal Service and they're reviewing it, it's $60 either way. And then down here, if you'd like for your passport book to be expedited back to you. So this is after it's been processed and printed. If you want for the US Department of State to send it back to you as soon as possible, you can pay $19.53. These are both optional. You can choose to do one or the other or both, but you would need to indicate that here at this time. Now, again, in that previous video, I mentioned that you can change this. Like, let's say you send it out and you decide, oh shoot, I actually want it expedited. You can call the US Department of State and ask that they, change it to expedited on both or one out of the two, but that could slow down your processing, believe it or not, because then now they have to accept the payment for that. You got to send them a check or a money, or like it gets complicated. So it's best to indicate it before you send it out as opposed to after. But I did want to let you know that you can do it after. So we're going to indicate that we want it expedited for both. We want the service expedited as well as the delivery. And you see here that it automatically calculated what that would be. And then you notice down here that some additional fees are file search. So that's if you are unable to prove that you are a US citizen, you can have them search to try and find some evidence, a birth certificate that you are a US citizen. That carries a fee of $150 if you choose or need that service. You can also indicate that here, but the execution fee, that is not able to be removed because of what you have indicated, that it is the first time that John is getting a passport. And again, if you mix and match these, you see that it definitely updates, but John does not want anything expedited. He just wants his regular old passport, and he'll pay the $35 to the acceptance facility. And you also notice down here that it tells you and breaks it down who you should be paying what to. So the $130 is going to the US Department of State, so that will be issued by check, money order. And the $35 fee is going to be to the acceptance facility, and that can usually be done by check, money order, credit, or debit card. Then we're going to click next, and it's going to give you a little 1, 2, 3 guide here where telling you how to submit your forms. You must appear in person at a passport acceptance facility or agency with your form, and that's because we indicated that this is the first time that John is going to be getting a passport. So you got to make an appointment for them to review your application and then to also put eyes on you. If you're outside of the US, it'll link to the US Embassy or Consulate's website. And then it's also going to give you some more information down here. And then to the most important thing, to print. It's telling you do not sign DS-11. You need to sign it in person in front of the acceptance agent. So that's very important. And it's also giving you some printing instructions to print single-sided. We cannot accept double-sided forms. Very important. Compare your printed form to what appears on your screen, which we're going to do that, and a couple other things that are kind of common sense. If there are any distortions, smudges, missing blocks or data, or if it looks faded, like that's not going to be accepted. It tells you to check your ink levels to make sure that they're not low. Like a lot of great information to help your application be accepted and not have any issues. So you're going to click that you've read and acknowledged the steps and the information above, and then you're going to click on print form. It's going to download that form, and then once we open it, We see here that it looked exactly like the application that you would get if you went to the post office. So page 1 through 4 is just instructions, and you can really skip through those. You really want to take a look at page 5 and page 6. So we see here that it is a US passport book that John has indicated, a larger book, which is non-standard. Again, no additional cost for that. We see last name, first name, and initial, date of birth looks good, gender, where he was born, social security, everything is looking good. His address. If we keep scrolling down to page 6, we see here his name again, date of birth. You see unknown is in that one section for his mother or father, whoever the second parent is. He doesn't know who that is. We see that Timothy, it's reflecting there instead of Tom, as well as his place of birth, as well as gender, and if he is a US citizen. You also see there that that also for the country, if I knew the city, I could have put that in there, but I didn't. And then we see here full name of spouse, our most recent America. Her name didn't come out, full name of current spouse, for whatever reason. So I would, in this case, want to go back and check on that. But everything else looks good. Date of birth came out right. Place of birth. Yes, his wife is a citizen, and their date of marriage. John's occupation. His height, as well as hair and eye color. So if, once you reviewed this and everything looks correct, what you would do is just print this out on your printer and just make sure that you're printing pages 5 and 6. You can print all of them, it doesn't hurt, but don't waste your paper and ink. All you need is page 5 and 6, and remember to do it single-sided, not double-sided. I personally have done this about 3 times for myself, my wife, as well as my daughter. My wife and daughter most recently, less than a month ago, did their application, and I submitted their paperwork in black and white. You see here that the application is in color. Did it black and white, had no issues, and in mine I believe I did do color and also had no issues. I don't really think that that matters, in case you were wondering, but just wanted to share that. Thanks so much for watching, and I hope that you found this video extremely valuable. If you did, don't forget to give it a big thumbs up down below and leave a comment if you have any questions, and I'll do my best to answer as many of them as I can. In case you're trying to get a passport for the very first time, I've made a video explaining the process, and I'll link that somewhere on the screen. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!